This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's pod. This is the week in review of October 23rd, 2021, and obviously the intro to this show was a complete lie, as Jason Dodge is not here with us this week. He is off on a much well-deserved family vacation, going camping, I believe, and I just got back from camping with my kids with the Scouts for a couple nights, so I guess it's camping season, even though it was 38 degrees this morning when I woke up. So that wasn't exactly fun, but otherwise we had a really good weekend. We're going to do, obviously, a slightly different format for the show. I'm going to be covering the news in a solo format. And then as a special treat for you all, I'm actually going to interview two of my kids to get their thoughts on our recent trip to Walt Disney World and Universal Orlando when we were down for the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World. Coming up in the news, we will have some observations about the start of Genie and Genie Plus and Lightning Lane and all that sort of stuff at Walt Disney World. See some different takes from people, share some of the resources we're using about it, which I think is pretty interesting, and maybe some interesting, early takes from performance of it and how people are utilizing it. But before we get into that, let's touch on the Disney Comeback Index. Not a lot of really big movement this week. The reason I'm actually going to highlight it is actually you can see some of the updates that we're putting here. These are all edits and adjustments that Matt has gone through in the past week, just to kind of show how he might change his view on that. We share some of our feedback on our Discord server about perhaps how to treat things. But I think it also just highlights just how many different things there are at Walt Disney World that he keeps sort of finding new things that he missed or things to add in or reclassify or whatever that might be. So we're still rounding up, I'd say, to a 75, which is about where we were last week, but still really good progress from when we started this exercise. As you can see in some of the different categories, it's still entertainment and some of the paid events, seasonal, that are holding it down until we can sort of get, I guess, full versions of some of these paid events, and we get full meet and greets and stuff like that. We probably won't see the DCI tick up too much, but hopefully once it gets going, things will come hot and heavy, and we will see that number jump up real quick, real fast, and in a big way. Moving on to our first news story, though, which sort of hits on some items related to the DCI. It is that there is now a rumor that Typhoon Lagoon will be opening by the end of this year, so by the end of 2021. Previously, it was reported that, or the thought was that it was going to open up when Blizzard Beach goes down for its yearly maintenance in the early part of 2022. However, now the thinking is that it will open up before the holidays, and actually both water parks will be open during the holiday season when they get pretty big crowds, and then Blizzard Beach would close for its yearly maintenance like normal. So I think once this Typhoon Lagoon opens, that will be a benefit to the DCI since it's been closed due to the pandemic. However, there won't be a hit when Blizzard Beach closes for its yearly maintenance, since that is expected. A fun little story that came out and is sort of making me, as a more frequent Walt Disney World goer, jealous, is that Zombie Captain America is a socially distanced meet and greet at Oogie Boogie's Bash over at Disney's California Adventure. It's really kind of creepy, but also sort of neat that they're doing all these sorts of things. For those of you not familiar with Zombie Captain America, obviously the zombie Avengers were part of a storyline in the comics, but also featured in the Disney Plus series What If. So I think it's just sort of neat to see these alternate takes on these characters, and something that we really don't see enough of, I think, in the Florida parks. I think it'd be great to see some of these alternative versions of characters, or just different characters, to be honest, especially maybe at Galaxy's Edge in Hollywood Studios. Last sort of news story before I get into Disney Genie that I did want to cover is that some more details have come out related to the International Festival of the Arts that is going to be coming to Epcot in the early part of 2022. We knew this was coming. We knew it was going to be called the International Festival of the Arts, not the Taste of the International Festival of the Arts. So that's great. But one of the big details that came out with this most recent announcement is that the Broadway performers, so I believe the official term that they use is Disney on Broadway Concert Series, will be a part of this. Up to now, whenever they had performers at these festivals, they were either, we're having cast members that are participating in the Candlelight Processional, or for Food and Wine Festival, they had Voices of Liberty and some of the other sort of regular under contract with Disney groups performing versus outside groups that they normally get. They normally would get, the Eat to the Beat concerts with, bands that we've heard of before and that sort of thing. So this is sort of the first time where an outside performers will be coming in for these festivals. So again, just another step back towards normalcy, I guess we could say. Just a small step, but I'd also would definitely encourage people that are going to be there during that time that the Festival of the Arts is going on to attend these. I was fortunate enough to see one when we were there in February of 2020, and they really do put on a great show. You can kind of get pretty close to where they're performing and really see them and understand their talent, really. These are people that were starring on Broadway in New York, so they are really obviously the top of the top of when it comes to show performers, for musical performers, so it definitely take advantage of that opportunity that is provided to you. Now we're going to move on to Disney, Genie Plus, Lightning Lane, all that sort of stuff that's been going on in this past week or so. And it came out, obviously I haven't been down in the park, so I haven't experienced it for myself firsthand. Do have some friends that have been down there that have utilized it, whether it's Genie Plus or the individual Lightning Lanes. I think one thing to comment on is that everything worked fairly smoothly from a technical standpoint. A lot of people are really worried about, anytime something rolls out with Disney IT, that perhaps it won't be as effective as they hope, that there'll be a lot of bugs that pop up and stuff like that. And this isn't to say that there weren't any, but I think a lot fewer than people were expecting. The first site that I wanted to talk to that I think has been doing a really cool job is our friends over at Touring Plans. Obviously, when we talk about the free part of Disney Genie that comes with the app that provides sort of a guide, it gives you the indications of wait times and suggestions of things to do based on the preferences that you put into the app. It sort of would outline a day for you, saying, here's the things you say you like to do, here's attractions you might want to check out, and here's the order we would suggest doing them in to sort of minimize your wait times. It also would include things like going to see cavalcades or when the Dapper Dans are performing, things like that. So it can provide a bit of a guide for your day and help you be most efficient as possible. Now, that sort of sounds a lot like what Touring Plans does. For those of you that have used that app, you put in the items that you want to do, and it puts together a schedule for you on how best to accomplish those things that you want to do. So it's a little bit different, but the same type of thing of providing you a guide for your day on how to do things. So what they did on the first day that Genie Plus was out was they had two of their workers go to the Magic Kingdom, and one would follow the Touring Plans guide. They put in the same attractions that they wanted to do, and one would follow what Touring Plan said to do, and one would follow what Genie said to do. And basically they wouldn't, say, obviously they would think, well, I know something better, but I will follow what Genie says to do. And it was really interesting. I have up here a screenshot from a video that they put out. I'll be linking to this video and their collection of videos about Genie. It's actually our DBC recommends for the week. It's just really neat to follow it. They basically follow on real time, saying, every 20 minutes or whatever, they check in. Well, where is each person? What ride are they at? Are they in the line for this? Have they just finished that? Are they waiting for lunch? How was the wait time in each ride that while they were waiting? And one thing that is becoming clear is that this free part of the Genie app isn't really a full guide to accomplishing everything that you say you want to do. It's not going to take you to each of the 12 or 8 or whatever attractions you put in. Instead, it's going to say, okay, these are the types of things you like to do. Here's things you can do with very short waits that are in the area you're currently on. And it seems like things that are maybe lower popular attractions. So perhaps Disney trying to shift crowds around and move people to lesser, attractions that draw lesser crowds. So in the example that Touring Plans was on, the first thing that it had the person do was Jungle Cruise, which was one of the attractions they wanted, and it seemed to actually make sense. It had a posted wait time of like 40 minutes, but they only waited like 18. But then it had them go to the Treehouse, which wasn't on their list. Then it had them go to Tiki Birds, which wasn't on their list. But it was in the area. It was the type of thing they indicated they liked to do, and it had very short waits. So if you kind of looked at the collection of attractions Genie had them do, they actually got more things done than the person who was following the touring plans, but it was much fewer of the specific things they cited that they wanted to do. There also seems to be some issues where it had them, seeing cavalcades and things like that on the street, and when they were ahead of schedule, or it was going to have them do more attractions later when crowds were lower. So in the midday, it sort of had them just hanging out on Main Street at some point with like a 2-hour gap. I think that's something that we'll definitely want to see updated in the Genie app. So even if it's not working how maybe people think a true guide should work, I think it still has some potential in sort of showing you things that maybe aren't things you would normally do, but you might like and have low wait times. But it needs to kind of, I think, enhance itself a little bit so it's not leaving these dead times. And hopefully over time, through machine learning and stuff like that, it will be able to do that. But just really interesting. Like I said, they did that I'm showing you on the screen is from Magic Kingdom. They've had different Q&As they did it over at Hollywood Studios, and that's going to be a whole different thing because of the demand for some of the rides there. And that's what I think we will get into now, as the next site that I wanted to point out is Thrill Data. And the first one that I want to show you is about wait times at Hollywood Studios. And specifically we're looking at now is the availability for pulling either Genie Plus lightning lanes or the individual attraction lightning lanes. And here in this chart you can see, for those of you that are following along on YouTube, but I'll try to describe it verbally. For those of you that are only listening, since that's all you have available to you, they have a chart that basically lists out all the rides that are at Hollywood Studios, and across the other axis of the chart is all the times. And it starts at 7 a.m. when you can first start pulling Genie Plus or individual lightning lane attractions if you're on site, and then says, well, how available were you able to pull those? And what you'll see quickly is, not too late into the morning, they were running out of the individual lightning lanes for Rise of the Resistance. They were running out, in the 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock hour. Every now and then you might see another drop of them, but for the most part, they were kind of gone. So if you decided that you wanted to pay for an individual lightning lane access for Rise of the Resistance, you had to decide that early in the morning. The other one that seemed to go really fast was Slinky Dog. Now, this is a Genie Plus lightning lane attraction, not an individual one. So this is one of the ones that's with the bundle for $15 that gets access to. But again, by 11 o'clock or so, they ran out of those. And you would, if you wanted to ride that, you paid for Genie Plus and you wanted to ride that, unless you got lucky and somebody canceled one or something like that, you wouldn't have been able to get lightning lane access for Slinky Dog unless you booked it in the morning. And we'll get into a little bit later how late some of those arrivals were. We were seeing for like Slinky Dog, if you got it at 9, 10 o'clock, your return time was, 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. Now, there's some strategies that we talked about last time for how you can work around that, but it's just something to keep in mind. And this was most prevalent, I think, in Hollywood Studios with these two rides specifically, that lightning lanes were going quickly for them. In the other parks, it really didn't seem to be an issue. A lot of the individual lightning lanes were, available to buy throughout the day. Genie Plus, some rides, maybe a little later in the day you'd have to wait, but they were generally available. But these two seem to be the most in-demand attractions when trying to pull lightning lanes, be it from Genie Plus or an individual lightning lane selection. The next chart from Thrill Data that I wanted to share, and just to kind of give you an idea of the things you can get from this information, there's a ton more, is a chart that shows what are the return times when I pull something or when I go in. As we know, for Genie Plus, you don't get to pick your return time. When you log in and you say, okay, I want to pick a lightning lane return time through Genie Plus, you look at the rides and you have to take the next available for any given ride. Again, for those watching online, I'm showing a chart from Thrill Data for Tower of Terror, because this is one of the ones that I think it shows it most clearly. But you can kind of see the types of data that are out there. And what this chart is showing for those that are just listening is saying, okay, if at a certain time, starting at 7 in the morning, when I pull my, return time, Genie Plus return time for Tower of Terror, what is that return time? So obviously when you're pulling right at 7 a.m., it's going to be for the first, as soon as the park opens or shortly thereafter, and you can kind of see people are checking things out, figure out what they want. So it kind of jumps around a little bit at the beginning, but then throughout the day, it kind of steadily increases. So you can just kind of get an idea of that, if it's around 10:30 in the morning or so, what about, when can I expect for my return time to be, if that's when I'm going to select one for Tower of Terror. And at that point, it was a little bit before noon. So you're still looking at about an hour delay. That seemed fairly consistent. And even during the middle of the day, kind of jumped around, maybe people jumping around, but you can sort of see what type of wait time you're going to have from when you pick, log into the system and say, I want to pull one for this ride. When is my return time going to be? And I think what this is really showing is how valuable Genie Plus can be at something like Magic Kingdom, where there's a lot of attractions. I'm seeing, a lot of reports from people there saying, I pull one, I ride the ride, and I look online, and there's things available almost immediately, within 10, 20 minutes, if not right away. Whereas something as Hollywood Studios, you might have to wait a little longer because there's not as many rides. But you can also do some of the stacking like we talked in the past about how perhaps you get Slinky Dog not until the afternoon, but due to the 120-minute rule, you can start pulling your next ride and stuff like that. But you're still probably going to have a little bit of a wait, and, knowing that there is still standby for things like Rise of the Resistance, what you might do is pull something for a little bit later and then get in the standby line for Rise of the Resistance, knowing you might have to wait an hour and a half or something like that, but you have your Genie Plus coming up a little bit after that. So those are some of the information that I wanted to share with you, just to kind of keep in mind if you're going down and considering getting Genie Plus or individual lightning lanes. I'd say, some of the initial takeaways are aware if you're using it for Hollywood Studios, think about buying that individual lightning lane for Rise of the Resistance maybe earlier. I know it's a little frustrating that with those you can't cancel, you can't modify your time, you're kind of stuck with it. But if this ride is a priority for you and you're willing to pay for it, that's one you might want to do earlier. Whereas some of the other ones, whether it's Frozen over in Epcot or Space Mountain in Magic Kingdom, you could probably wait into the day to decide if you want to buy it or not. Rise of the Resistance, you kind of have to buy earlier. And the same with Slinky Dog, if you're going to want to get a Genie Plus for that one, really try to think about doing that earlier in the day. They do run out. Most of the other rides, we haven't seen that, but for those two, keep in mind. And for the other ones, just think about the parks. Is it something that you're trying to accomplish as many rides as you can and just pick the next one of whatever's available, or are there specific rides that you're trying to do? You might have those 2-hour waits until the ride's available. Just think about what rides you'd rather do standby that you can use up in those times, or perhaps shows. Something at Animal Kingdom or Hollywood Studios, obviously there's some good shows, you can use your time there. So those are just some of my sort of initial takes on what we're seeing. One last point I did want to highlight is obviously Rise of the Resistance is prone to go down. We did see that happen since Genie launched. What they're doing, and apparently they're going to be updating the code so this happens automatically, that if a ride you have an individual lightning lane for goes down and never opens for the rest of the day, you will automatically be refunded for what you paid for the ride. If, say, you bought a return time for 4 o'clock and the ride goes down and they don't know if it'll be up, and you have a dining reservation at a resort or something like that at 6:30, you're saying, well, I can't wait around to see if this ride goes up. I have to go to my dining reservation. You can go to the guest experience team and tell them about that, and they'll refund your money then too. We've seen it either they can directly refund it to the original purchase way you purchased it, credit card, whatever, or they can put it onto a Disney gift card. So you won't be left out if a ride goes down and you're not able to ride it because of that. Just know that you might have to go talk to somebody if it winds up coming up later in the day, but you had to leave the park before that happened. And with that, I think I will wrap up the news. Wanted to remind you of our social media accounts. We're at Twitter at PodDBC, Instagram, the DBC Podcast, Facebook, DBC Pod, and of course our YouTube channel and Discord server. And we are still trying to get that count up on YouTube. We are within spitting distance of hitting our target. So we are going to keep the contest open for, I think, one more week. I think we'll close it at noon next Sunday on the 31st. I think Halloween seems like a good day to close it out. And we'll announce a winner then. But please, if you comment on this video, that will get you another entry into the contest. Please tell your friends, even if they're not interested in Disney, have them, subscribe and leave a comment. So that'll be sort of like another entry for you. But like I said, we're almost up to our goal, so we're going to leave it open for one more week. I'll be tweeting out about it and that sort of thing. But please sign up, and you have an opportunity to win that poster and map from the October 1st, the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World. As I said, coming up after this, you'll see me first with my son Peter and then with my daughter Olivia, talking about their experiences for the 50th and some of their take on the fireworks and the new dining options we had. So I think it's sometimes people hear a lot from adults, so I thought it'd be neat to kind of hear from some younger people what they thought of these experiences. Reminder that the Touring Plans videos are our DBC Recommends of the Week. And with that, I will say good evening and have a great day, and just take care, everyone. All right, thanks. Have a good one. All right, everyone, I'm here with my son Peter, who is 9 years old, and we recently went down to Walt Disney World for their 50th anniversary celebration. We were there on the actual 50th, October 1st. So, Peter, was this your first trip to Walt Disney World?
Definitely not.
What? Speak up, I couldn't hear you. What?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. You've been there quite a few times, including you were there just a month prior, right?
Mm-hmm.
The trip you went without me, that I'm not jealous or mentioning or anything like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So overall, though, what were your thoughts of going to Walt Disney World on this 50th trip versus just like going, any old time? Like, how did it compare being there for the big anniversary?
I like the only difference that I thought of was there was a bunch of lines for shops and popcorn.
Yeah.
And there was no line for any rides.
Right. So there were tons of people there, and we'll talk about the fireworks later, but we saw them and everybody was there on Main Street for the fireworks, right? But we were kind of surprised at how short the lines were for the actual rides, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So since I just mentioned about the fireworks, there were 2 new fireworks shows that we got to see this trip, right? We got to see Disney Enchantment at Magic Kingdom on October 1st. Right, and our Harmonious at Epcot on October 2nd. So thinking back to October 1st for Disney Enchantment, that had replaced Happily Ever After, which we got to see the final performance of that, right? Remember, we saw the Fairy Tale Cruise, we saw it from there. Mm-hmm. What were your thoughts of Disney Enchantment, and how do you think it compared to Happily Ever After?
I like this better because there was projections on the buildings on Main Street.
You like that? You like those projections that were kind of around us? Because we watched it from on Main Street a little bit back from the hub, so we got to kind of be in those projections, sort of, right? So you like that?
Mm-hmm.
What about the music and stuff like that? Did you like this one better or Happily Ever After?
I liked Happily Ever After's music better.
Okay. Now, what about Harmonious, though? That was probably a bigger difference, right? Enchantment wasn't still kind of the same type of thing, projecting on the castle and stuff like that, but Harmonious was very different than before. So what were your thoughts of Harmonious over at Epcot?
I liked it because of all the water and the projections on the water.
So that were on the barges that were on the water, right?
Yeah, the tacos.
The taco barges, yes. We taught the taco barges, and then they had the Stargate that had the water mist that they projected on. And they also sprayed water and all sorts of stuff like that. So you liked all those effects.
And there was the firework things really close to us that were shooting fireballs.
Oh, the ones that came from the land?
Yeah.
Shooting out? Yeah, that was cool too, right? What about the music in Harmonious? Did you like the music in Harmonious?
No, not that much.
Not that much? Okay. But you liked all the effects and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we also ate at 2 new restaurants. Steakhouse 71, which is at the Contemporary Resort, where the Wave used to be. We ate there on October 1st, which was their very first day of opening to the public. We ate dinner there before we saw the fireworks. What did you think of dinner there? Did you like it?
Yeah, I actually loved it, and the only thing I didn't like about it, it was very slow.
Service was a little slow.
Yeah.
But otherwise...
But they bought us bread.
That's true. They did bring us some extra bread service that was on the appetizer menu, sort of to make up for the delay that they saw. Because I thought service was nice, right? They were really good. It was just kind of taking a while to get our food.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the other new place for us over at Epcot, we got to go to Space 220. What did you think of that? Were you excited when you heard we were going to get to go to Space 220?
Mm-hmm, because I knew it was a new restaurant, and I knew there was you would like go in an elevator that would launch you into the space aircraft thingy.
Up to the space station?
Yeah, the space station, and you could see out onto Earth while you eat.
So how do you think the effect was? Did it seem convincing?
Mm-hmm.
So you liked it? And what about
The
the
only
food?
thing
Oh,
that
the only
was-
thing?
The only thing that was fake in the projections were there was kids and dogs there, which kids aren't allowed in space.
Oh, that's true. So scientifically speaking, you could tell that would be fake.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you like the effects though? Was it fun to kind of like spot things?
Yeah.
During
Like all the spaceships coming into it.
Yeah. And what about the food there?
The food there is great.
It was great?
Mm-hmm.
What was your favorite thing that you had? Because I know you tried a lot of like the appetizers Mom and Dad got and stuff. What was your favorite thing?
My favorite thing there was the burger that I got.
Oh, you like that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. Now, as a bonus question, because you have to have a bonus question for anybody you're interviewing, we also stayed at Universal Orlando, which this was your first time getting to Universal. So overall, what did you think about visiting Universal Orlando and staying at one of their hotels versus Disney?
I think it was a little better there because of all the thrill rides.
Mm-hmm.
And Disney doesn't have all those. Like, there was Velocicoaster and like Hagrid's motorbikes. And I also like the Harry Potter butterbeer there.
Yeah. Which type did you like the best? Or wait, you only got the frozen one, right? That's the only one
Yeah,
you
and then
let
I
us
tried
get?
the hot one.
You did?
Yeah.
Did you like that one?
No.
No, you like the frozen one better?
Yeah, I like the frozen one best.
Okay. So if we went next time and could only go to Disney or Universal, which would you rather go to?
Oh, definitely Universal.
Because of the thrill rides and Velocicoaster.
Yeah.
How many times you get on Velocicoaster?
4 times, 2 times in the front.
Front row, and we did it at night in the dark, front row, and I highly recommend that if you enjoy thrill rides because that was kind of crazy. Any final words to our listeners?
Go to Universal to have fun.
Okay. You sound very excited about that. Very convincing that you had fun at Universal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Peter. And now I welcome in my daughter Olivia, who is 12, almost 13, and we are talking again about our trip recently down to Walt Disney World for the 50th anniversary. So what were your thoughts about being there for the big event?
It was amazing. It was definitely really crowded. And I learned that people have a very strong will while waiting for popcorn buckets.
Yes, we saw lots of long lines for popcorn buckets. Peter was on before talking about how that too. He did wait in one of the lines. We were proud of him for being patient. I don't know.
For an hour, probably more.
But lots of people were waiting. We saw people with like every color popcorn bucket. We're like, how many lines did they wait? Like an hour, and that's crazy. But
Have you been here for half a day just waiting in popcorn lines?
apparently. So any other specific highlights of the trip that you wanted to mention?
I really liked the Ratatouille rides at Epcot.
Oh yeah. Did you want to show off your...
Yeah. I have it right over here.
You could just hold it up.
Yeah. I got the pass holder Ratatouille magic band. Oh, jeez. Sorry. I'm horrible at jokes about.
It's okay. See, it's cute. He's got the thing. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we were at the pass holder area for buying the merchandise, and we're like, oh, there's the like special limited edition magic band. They're like, that's the last one. We're like, we'll take that. Thank you. Now, in addition to Remy's Ratatouille, that's a good point. We should have talked about that because that was a new ride that we got to go on at Epcot. You said you really liked it?
Yeah, it was really cool how they used the It did remind me a lot of Rise of Resistance, how you were like in the buggy and then you moved around and then there was like places that it would like line up to the screens and such. I really liked how they did that.
Cool. Now the other new things we got to do though, and I asked Peter about this, but I wanted to get your thoughts, were on the two new fireworks show. So Disney Enchantment at Magic Kingdom and Harmonious at Epcot. What did you think of Enchantment, and how do you think it compared to Happily Ever After, which it replaced?
So it was a good show. I did like how they used Main Street, like going down, how they made it like match up to the music. Though it definitely did not compare to Happily Ever After to replace it for the 50th.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of people's. Yeah. So some people I think are just super down on it, but I think a lot of times it's because they wanted it.
I think it would have been much cooler if they made like a new version of it almost for the 50th, like for the 18 months, and then reverted back to it, or made a whole new show for it then after the 18 months.
Go back to Happily Ever After?
Yeah, or do a whole new show after the 18
There
months.
are some reports they might go back to Happily Ever After, so we'll see. But yeah. And then what about Harmonious at Epcot?
Harmonious was amazing. I liked all the different art styles and how they used those like tentacle arm things shooting out the water. And it really scared me. Like, it was a fun scare when all the like fireworks shot out from all the different countries.
Yeah.
And like made a dome almost. That part was really funny and cool.
Yeah.
Not funny, but
somebody I follow on Twitter described it that the ending of the show looks like a giant octopus is trying to attack Epcot, and then Epcot is firing back at it.
Oh. Why an octopus?
I guess because of the tentacle arms and stuff like that. I don't like, or sea creature of some sort. And we also ate at two new restaurants. So Steakhouse 71 at, which used to be the Wave at the Contemporary, was their opening day, and we got to go there. What did you think of that?
The food was amazing. Of course, it was slow because opening day, but it had this really cool drink where you dropped this like sparkly Mickey head. I'm pretty sure that there's other characters because that's what the description was called. Like, get different characters.
Yeah, all you three kids got it, and you all got Mickey. But I think at other restaurants I saw like a Donald and some others.
So like you drop it in almost like a bath bomb, and then you swirl it around with your spoon, and it makes it all really sparkly and shiny. I liked fiddling around with it.
Yeah, it was a cool thing to do. It was just a fun thing for the kids, and like you said, it kept them busy a little bit too, right?
Just like swirling it around.
And then we also ate at Space 220. What were your thoughts about that, and what were your were you excited to go there when you heard
Yeah, I was really excited. 'Cause space nerd over here. So I liked how he did the spinning plants. That one was really cool. Like with the
when you walk
infinity
up,
mirror.
it looks like that's how they're growing the plants that they serve at the restaurant. But they had an effect that made it look like it went on forever.
And the silverware I thought was really cool. Like the forks were thin but really long. And the windows too. I thought that how they did that, like circling around, was really cool. Along with how they did the bathrooms, though, that was pretty cool. But with the spinning around thing, the screens, I mean, they could have done much more with it, I think.
Yeah, we were talking about that hopefully this is just the start, and like if you go back in 6 months, there's like new effects added.
Yeah, like more colors in space other than just black.
Yeah, especially around the edges. I know some people said if they sat like at one of the last tables, you really couldn't see much, and they're like, okay, I could see black and some stars. Yeah. So hopefully they add more. And the last question, which I asked Peter as well, we stayed at Universal Orlando. This was our family's first trip there. You had done a day there for your birthday a few years ago to do the Harry Potter stuff, but this was kind of our first time staying there.
Yeah.
So overall, what did you think of Universal Orlando and our time there?
I thought that, first of all, the hotel was really good. The pool and how they did it was really good, because they had really good lifeguards there. And they brought food to you.
Yeah. So just so everyone knows who hadn't maybe listened to a prior episode, we stayed at Portofino Bay.
Yeah.
And they have a nice pool with like sand beaches, and the pool bar is in the area, and they have servers that come by and take your drink and food order and bring it right to you. It definitely felt vacation-y.
But like the actual park, it was really cool. Like, I don't really like the big roller coaster, so I didn't go on like Velocicoaster like Peter did. But I liked the Hagrid's ride a lot. And butterbeer.
So on our next trip, would you want, rather, if we could only do one, would you want us to go to Universal Orlando or Walt Disney World?
Both.
Both. Okay, that wasn't an option. But so I guess you like the structure though, where we spent a few days at Universal.
How we did like not Animal Kingdom, but we extended it just a bit so that we could have a few days at Universal.
Do you think we spent enough time at Universal and enough time at Disney?
Yeah.
Or? Okay.
Of course, we could have always shortened the Universal park because you can generally get around the whole park in like a day or two.
So maybe we shorten that by a day and then add on another day at Disney.
Yeah, like
ideal.
Animal Kingdom.
Okay.
Or like another day at one of other parks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other final comments you'd like to make?
I like butterbeer. Frozen butterbeer.
All right. Another vote for frozen butterbeer. So we'll see how the internet reacts to that. Tweet about it. All right. Thanks, Olivia, for coming by.